Welcome back. Welcome to the Premier Mindset by Premier Performance LLC. I'm your host, Trent Mailer, LCSW, and this is episode 26. We have information in the show notes. If there's anything you're looking for, I would check there first. We have details of what the episodes are, along with any access to research that you may be looking for. I would look there first. We have videos of the episodes on YouTube and Spotify. So if you want to watch the episodes with us, some of the episodes involve, graphics, doing things on whiteboards, that kind of stuff. So it can be nice to watch the full videos. That's a great place to check them out. And we will also share clips on social media, little bite-sized pieces of the podcast episodes so you can get the information, kind of remind yourself of things, revisit certain things, and keep on going with your life. The podcast itself is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. If you'd like it somewhere else as well, just let me know, and I'll get it up there too. I have no problem putting it anywhere you need it. If it is helpful, make sure to follow, subscribe, click the bell to get notified on YouTube to make sure you get the content as it comes out. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, make sure to like, love it, favorite it, share it, leave a review. All of this is super helpful for us to just continue to expand and get this out there and have this information reaching the people we want it to reach. So if you could help us out with that, kind of show us a little bit of love, that would be awesome. We'd really appreciate that. So those who could find help from today's episode are those who struggle when things go wrong. So if you know anyone, or even if this kind of describes yourself, of just really catastrophizing or having a hard time accepting failure or just dealing with difficulties when they do show up, having setbacks lead to spirals and all that kind of stuff, this is a great episode to share with people that might be experiencing those things, or get some help yourself to help figure out how to manage and navigate these things. At the same time, though, this is not a replacement for therapy or medical treatment. It's purely educational. So if there is things that you need to get, make sure you go get them. Go take care of your stuff, whatever it is. If you need therapy, get therapy. If you need to get medical treatment, get medical treatment. This is not a replacement for that. We're just trying to spread awareness, give you guys some tools, maybe point you in some directions, and help you figure out how to just build up your life and make life easier for you. I make it a point to give you actionable tools to find success in your life, and it's all evidence-based. It's not just random things I'm throwing at the wall. And the reason for that is because I know you guys are all very busy. You got a lot going on. Life is hectic, and life is hard. So if we're giving you things to do or to try, I want to make sure that it's backed by a bunch of stuff so it's going to work for you guys, or at least there's a good probability it's going to work for you guys. Not everything works for everyone, so that's always a tough part of this. But we're doing our best to make sure to give you guys things that works and that you can use now in your life. So make sure to try them out and see what happens. You might be surprised at how these things do work. Don't just write them off because they don't sound like your thing, or maybe you haven't done it before, or maybe doing something similar has been hard before. Let's just give it a shot. If you have any questions, anything you want me to go over more, if you need help with anything, you can reach out to me in a lot of different ways. You can email me at tmailer@premierperformancereno.com. My last name spelled Mahler. You can text or call me directly at 775-561-0056. We have the Instagram and the TikTok with the same name for both of those, which is premier_performance_Reno. So jump on board on that. Let's get involved with these communities that we are building. We also have our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page with the same name, which is Premier Performance LLC for both of those as well. And then our Twitter or X account, which is at Premier Reno LLC, followed by our website, which is www.premierperformancereno.com. So check us out. Reach out if you have any questions, concerns, issues, anything that we can help with. We'd love to be a resource. We'd love to help you guys out. Just let us know what's going on, and we'll figure it out best we can together. So today we're going to cover handling setbacks and failures, because this comes up a lot in just competing. It comes up a lot in performance in general. It just comes up in life, really, because no matter what you do, no matter what you're reaching for in life, you're going to go through setbacks at some points. Sometimes something's going to go wrong and fail. It's just going to happen. And if we can accept that off the bat, we can start getting to work on what to do about it and how to navigate it, instead of getting super stuck and caught up on that this just sucks or doesn't feel good. So we're going to try and jump into that, help you guys navigate that a little bit, make it a little easier. So when setbacks or failure does show up in your life, you're not dreading it. It's not a big kind of collapse. We just take care of things and keep on moving. But before we get into that, let's do our brain activity. Our brain activity today is called the failure autopsy. Our goal is to help reframe setbacks as data, not identity, and extract growth lessons, because we want to grow from these things. If we're not gaining anything from our failures or setbacks, They just suck, and that's not fun for anybody. So let's make sure to get something from it and gain something from it so we can build ourselves up and do some cool things with it. So there's a couple steps we want to follow. First, we want to choose a setback. So think of a recent failure or setback, big or small, that has happened to you, something you have gone through, and write it down. Again, writing it down, putting pen to paper, helps it get into our brain a little differently than just thinking about it or typing it. So try and write it down if you can. Next, after that, we're going to dissect it, kind of autopsy style. We're going to think about what exactly happened using facts, not emotions, not getting stuck in all the assumptions or judgments, but just the objective facts of what went on. We then also want to ask ourselves is what was in my control versus out of my control. Let's be aware of the things I could do something about and things that just have nothing to do with me. You could even write that down. You could split like a little table in half, do one side of things in your control, do another side of things out of your control. We really want to explore that idea of what could I have actually changed or, had some control with. The next thing we want to ask is what assumptions did I have going in? Were there assumptions about this situation? Maybe it's I'm going to hate this thing, or this isn't going to work out for me, or I'm really worried what everyone might think because I'm not good at this stuff. What did you carry in? What emotional baggage did you carry in with you into the situation? And how did it kind of set you up for whatever happened? Next thing we want to look at is what signs did I miss or ignore? So what things did we see, whether it was noticing I'm getting overwhelmed or noticing the situation wasn't working out? Maybe it's noticing a tightness in my hamstring and right before I pulled it, right? So what signs are showing up that maybe I didn't see at that time, or maybe I tried to just ignore straight up and just pretend wasn't there? We want to pay attention to these things and be aware of how these things are showing up in our life as well. So notice what those signs are, what did we miss, what could we have ignored, and we'll kind of explore that a little bit more too. Next, after that, we want to identify the wound versus the lesson. The wound is what still hurts emotionally. You want to name it, acknowledge it. You want to accept that feeling. You want to face that feeling. We don't want to ignore it. We don't want to run from it. We just want to feel it. So sometimes we got to accept these things. We got to acknowledge it. There is an idea out there called name it to tame it, that once we name these things and can put a label on it, it feels a whole lot less scary. It feels a whole lot better. We then want to look at the lesson. What is this setback teaching us? What is this failure teaching us? Is it a skill? Is it showing us our limit? Is it helping us with a redirection to show us we need to follow a different path? What is it trying to give us? What is the silver lining in this thing that didn't work out for us? After that, we want to reframe the statement. Rewrite the failure into a future-facing lesson. An example could be, instead of saying, I bombed that interview, you could say, that interview taught me what questions to prepare for next time. So that reframe really changes the emotional toll that this idea or thought might be having on us. Because if I just say I bombed that interview, I'm probably just beating myself up. I'm so dumb. Why did I do this thing? Why didn't I do more? Why wasn't I more prepared? Why didn't I see that coming? All of that, all of the shame spiral stuff. Where on the other side, if I say that interview taught me what questions I need to prepare for next time, now I'm not beating me up. Now I'm actually changing that scope and I'm looking at what I could do better, what I could start working on now, and I can actually get to work on that instead of just sitting there feeling bad about it, really. So it helps us get moving, it helps us get going. Where the other side of it, really, we just sit in that suck and it doesn't really go anywhere and it doesn't help us either. After that, after we reframe it, we want to write an action step. Write one concrete thing you'll do differently because of that failure. An example could be seek feedback, change prep routine, or try again with adjustments. So if we're going back to that example of the interview, maybe you start researching ways to answer those questions that really stumped you. Maybe you practice them with somebody and say that I'm going to practice doing interviews with a friend once a week for the next 4 weeks until my next interview. Whatever it might be. But we just want to get things moving. It's great to look at it differently. It's great to extract a lesson from it. But at some point, we got to take action on it too. We can't just look at it differently. We got to do something about it too. It works because it pulls people out of that shame into self-reflection. Self-reflection is going to help us a whole lot more than shame will. It's very easy to get caught in those shame spirals. But we got to help ourselves get out of them and focus on that self-reflection because that's really going to be the thing that builds us up. It also normalizes failure as feedback, not finality, because failure happens and you're going to fail your way to success. So we have to be okay with failure. We have to be able to accept it and we have to learn from it and grow from it, not just accept that this is the end of it and there's no more movement forward, because that's when things die. It leaves us with a tool that we can reuse every single time we stumble. So this is something you can use when you're having a hard time and you don't know what went wrong. It's a great way to really pull this apart and figure out what's going on, what happened, so we can better manage it and navigate it if it ever shows up in our future. So try out the failure autopsy, see what you think. Make sure you're writing all this stuff down, and you can do it multiple times in your day. You can do it, throughout the week. You can do it however you want to do it. But try it out and see what you think. You might really enjoy it. It might help you gain some lessons that you didn't realize were there for you to take. If you have any questions or issues with it, let me know. I'd love to hear how things are going from you guys. But now let's jump into our episode. What are setbacks and failures? A setback is a short-term obstacle that temporarily halts progress, while a failure is a significant, often longer-lasting outcome that indicates a plan or effort has not succeeded. The key difference often lies in the opportunity to learn, adapt, and try again. A setback can be recovered from with adjustments, but a true failure may require a fundamental change in strategy, and the distinction can also be subjective based on whether you choose to stop trying or re-strategize after an unsuccessful outcome. So it's kind of a gray area between setbacks and failures. They kind of overlap in a lot of ways, but a lot of it goes back to just setbacks are a little more minor typically, while failures are a little more severe or bigger, a little more significant. And like they talked about at the end there, some of this goes back to subjectiveness of whether I'm willing to stop. Because a setback can become a bigger failure if I just accept that this is what it is, there's nothing I can do about it, I'm not going to try again. But failure doesn't mean that we have to just accept it and there's nothing to do here. It's just deeper change might be needed to actually find success in this. It might not be just trying again. We might have to change up how we're trying these things. So setbacks are temporary. They usually are a temporary disruption to a plan or a goal, whatever we're trying to do, but they are often reversible with short-term solutions and adaptability helping to overcome them. So they're typically things that we can face and deal with pretty quick. They aren't things that we can get stuck on unless we do let ourselves get stuck on them. We can just overcome these things and keep moving pretty quickly. Sometimes we just focus on them and we get stuck in that and we have a hard time pulling ourselves out. Setbacks provide valuable clues to what went wrong and offer insight for future success, serving as a valuable learning experience. Going through setbacks can be very helpful, especially when they're a little more minor, because we're just learning that what we're doing needs adjustments, it needs tweaks. We do those things work out a whole lot better. An example to that could be losing a job, facing a rejection in a career, experiencing a health issue, or a brief lapse of judgment that during a recovery plan that leads to a setback. Okay? So setbacks can impact us in a lot of different ways, but they do deal with a little more of that temporariness than a lot of things in the failure side. The failure side is a little more substantial and enduring. Failures are more substantial and tend to have a more significant or longer lasting impact than setbacks do. They typically need a fundamental change and may necessitate a more comprehensive review and a fundamental change in approach or strategy, so we might need to go about it completely different. Some argue that a failure only truly happens when one stops trying. The act of failing is an outcome, not a definition of the person. Sometimes it's a question of effort. Sometimes it's not the effort and it's more strategy. So we want to keep working at stuff, and if you keep working on things, no matter how many setbacks or failures you encounter, it's not an actual true failure until you stop trying and give up. Once we quit, then it's done. If we're still working, things can get better, things can work out, we can figure things out. But if we just give up on it and stop putting effort into it, chances are it's now done and it's dead and it's not going to move anywhere that we want it to move anymore, and we might give up on that dream or that goal, whatever it is. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes we realize certain goals just aren't ours anymore. We just don't want to face them anymore or try and deal with them. But sometimes we're doing that out of fear or because we're just tired of dealing with this stuff and we want to move on. So we got to help ourselves face these fears and deal with this stuff and help ourselves get through it and not get too caught on these things. An example of a failure could be not getting accepted into a degree program, could be a bad performance review, or a business losing a significant client. These are all different examples of failures, but these are also things that don't have to be like an end-all, be-all, that there's nothing else to do. If you're not accepted into a degree program, you can keep on working on your resume and what you have to offer and keep on applying until you do get in. If we get a bad performance review, we can work on that, learn from that, keep on working to make sure we don't get more of them. If the business loses a significant client, we could figure out what went wrong. We could try and work on it. We could try and get that client back or even try and get more clients in the future, or just be aware of it so we don't run into these problems in the future. Why do we have setbacks or failures? People experience setback and failures due to various factors like poor focus, lack of persistence, emotional challenges like fear or perfectionism, internal struggles such as bad habits or low self esteem, and also external circumstances that we may not have any control over. These events are normal human experiences, and while they can be discouraging due to brain responses like a dopamine drop, they also present critical opportunities for learning, growth, and building resilience. So essentially, it doesn't feel good going through setbacks and failures, but they're very helpful in our life moving forward and building something kind of amazing. Because if we're reaching for premier performance, if we're trying to reach that high level of whatever we're doing, you're going to go through failures. Otherwise, everyone would be at that level. The reason there aren't people at this level we're trying to reach to is because people face these setbacks and failures along the way and oftentimes stop trying at some point. So we want to overcome these things. We don't want to let these things get in our way and stop us because things are going to go wrong. I promise they're going to go wrong. It's about how we deal with them and can we help learn and grow from them and keep going, or do we get stuck on them and just spiral? Because then nothing good's coming from it. So let's talk a little bit more about the internal factors. We have a lack of persistence. Quitting too early or a lack of sustained effort and discipline is a common reason for not achieving goals, just kind of giving up on things, not continuing that work. Anything worth doing, consistency is key. If you stick with it and keep working, no matter how many things you fail at or have go wrong, you can help get things done. You can make the things happen that you want to make happen. We just might need to think a little bit about the strategy we're using, because if the strategy is not working, using that same strategy over and over again with consistency may not be what we need. Poor focus is another one. Overwhelming oneself with too many goals or a lack of clarity on one's objectives makes it hard to concentrate and move forward. So we want to be aware of building up that focus. It might be just, ADHD type stuff where you're just having issues with focus. It might be because we're not taking care of our body and it's just hard to focus on things in general. This might be a lack of practice with focus and needing to build up that muscle a bit so it's a lot easier for you to use. But be aware of that focus and be aware of what you're focusing on. We also have emotional and cognitive issues like fear of failure or perfectionism and negative self talk. They can all hinder progress and get in the way. And while a fatalistic attitude or poor self esteem can lead to giving up. So we have to be aware of these things and how our self talk and how we're thinking about this does impact how it's going and our likelihood of continuing to grind and get through this versus kind of giving up, tossing our hands up and saying it's not worth it. We talked about negative self talk in a past episode and how it impacts us. So make sure to check that out if you want to dive deeper into that. We also have habits, like negative or self defeating habits. They can act as significant deterrents to success over time. Maybe that's having a hard time getting up, so you're consistently late to work. And the goal that you're trying to accomplish is maybe getting a promotion. If you're late to work every single day for months on end, there's a good chance, even if you're working really great, that you may not get that promotion because you're not doing everything the right way. So we got to be aware of these habits and what things are working for us and what's not. That's why self-reflection is so important, because it helps us figure out what to hold on to versus what things we need to let go of. We also have external factors. There's uncertainty and interdependencies. The modern world is complex and unpredictable, and failures are an inevitable part of it in navigating it. Especially in dynamic environments like the business world, we can have things go wrong not because of anything we did. Maybe the deal goes sideways because of other parties that are getting involved trying to talk through things and create a plan, and it has nothing to do with what we're proposing or how we've been going about it. And maybe on our side it's been working good, but on the other side, other things work a little more better in that situation that leads to people leaning away from our side of the deal, maybe leaning towards another side of the deal. There's a lot of different ways external factors get in the way. This is why we have to be aware of what we control and what we can't, because some things we beat ourselves up for that we don't have any control over, and it's not really being fair to ourselves, and it just fuels that negative self-talk. There's also circumstance and unexpected events. Sometimes failures are simply a result of factors beyond an individual's control, like we're saying. It's important to not take them as a personal failing. This could be like a weather event. Maybe you're ready to play a game and there's a thunderstorm and the game gets delayed and you got to do it tomorrow or something. And now that's completely thrown things off. The plan isn't the same. We're trying to set things up in a weird way, I mean, that's a setback. So what do we do about that? Do we just get frustrated and pissed off that this is happening, or do we accept that this is going on? Let's learn from it. Let's take it as an opportunity to reset some things and get back out there and play that game the next day. So we got to be aware of that. There is a big role that setbacks play in our life. First thing is that it's a normal part of growth. Setbacks are not signs of weakness, but a natural part of facing challenges, and they show that the brain is processing disappointment. That means there's more places for us to go. There's more area for us to grow. We want to keep working on these things, and if everything was working out, life would get kind of boring, and we wouldn't get nearly the amount of joy that we would get from pushing ourselves to achieve things and accomplish stuff and overcome obstacles. Keep accepting that setback when it shows up. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It's a normal part of just pushing yourselves, and let's keep pushing ourselves. That's a good thing. It's also a learning opportunity. Each setback provides valuable insight into what went wrong, allowing for improvements to be made to strategies and approaches. If you learn nothing from things going wrong, then it sucks. If you can get something from it, it's a positive thing. You're going to grow from it. Don't let these things just suck. Grow from these things, build yourself up, give yourself new tools and new things you can use as you're going through life. It also helps us build resilience. Overcoming setbacks strengthens resilience, coping skills, and adaptability, which are essential for future success because we're going to go through these things again. So the more you get comfortable going through setbacks and failures now, the easier it's going to be for you in your future when you face them again, because they are going to show up again at some point. It is also a driving force of change. A significant setback can sometimes become a powerful motivator, leading to unexpected successes and even new paths. So let's keep pushing ourselves and let's go accomplish some amazing things, not getting stuck on the setbacks or the failures, but overcoming them and growing from them. There's a lot of different examples out there of overcoming setbacks and failures. There's movies about the idea of doing this, books, documentaries. A lot of people that have been successful have talked about the struggles they faced. This stuff is all over the place, and you can find them constantly if you want to. Overcoming setbacks is a common thread in the stories of successful athletes and business professionals who often use a failure as a catalyst for future success. Their resilience provides powerful lessons in perseverance and adaptability. So let's talk a little bit about some athletes who overcame some setbacks. One of them is pretty popular and a lot of people talk about it, which is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team. Before becoming a basketball icon, he was cut from the varsity basketball team as a sophomore. The setback after not making the team devastated Jordan, and he went home and cried. But he chose to overcome it. Rather than just quitting and giving up and saying this isn't for him, he used the rejection to fuel his dedication, relentlessly training to improve his skills and make the team the following year. He later led the Chicago Bulls to 6 NBA championships. So we can overcome some pretty tough stuff, and that's a great example of how something went wrong and we could just accept it and say, whatever, it is what it is. They don't want me on the team. I'm not going to try out for the team next year. But he took that and said, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make it so they can't do anything except accept me. Okay? He put it so much in their court of, I'm going to do everything I can that you will be forced to let me be on this team. And it worked. And it led to an amazing career. And if you watched the Michael Jordan documentary where he talks about a lot of these things, he would honestly look for setbacks at times to try and fuel that motivation again, and he'd use that to help reach his greatness. Another person that went through stuff that were pretty difficult for them was Serena Williams. She faced a life-threatening pulmonary embolism. The tennis superstar had endured numerous setbacks, but perhaps the most severe was a health scare that almost ended her career. In 2011, Williams was diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism followed by a hematoma, which required an extensive and painful recovery process. She overcame it by kind of taking a long road back, because it's a long path when we're going through some of these injuries, some of these difficulties with health. She returned to the court with renewed determination and went on to win several more Grand Slam titles. She credits her success to her mindset, learning from every loss, and a fierce belief in herself. So again, go through a really intense setback, very easy to just accept it and say, it's time to be done. Let's hang it up. Let's just not compete anymore. But instead, she fought back. She went through that extensive and painful recovery process, and then she continued to win and do amazing things. We can do some pretty crazy stuff if we just believe in ourselves. Alex Smith is another one. He had a near fatal leg injury in the NFL. The quarterback suffered a horrific spiral fracture of his tibia and fibula during a game in 2018, and it led to life-threatening sepsis and required 17 surgeries, with doctors initially unsure if he would even walk again. He overcame it through intense rehabilitation, and he returned to the field and started for the Washington football team in 2020, leading them to a division title and earning the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. So he goes from a place where he is in a life-threatening situation, he could die, and they're not even sure he's going to be able to walk again. And not only does he rehab and get back from that, but he gets back into the professional field working as a quarterback again and takes the team to a division title, and he builds on top of that. And the NFL kind of saw that work and gave him that Comeback Player of the Year because of that. So we can overcome some really intense things, and sometimes it's just taking one step at a time, keeping that head down, and just grinding. Let's talk a little bit about some business professionals who overcame some setbacks. Sarah Blakely, she used failure to fuel Spanx. The self-made billionaire founder of Spanx faced numerous setbacks before finding success, and she attributes to her unconventional view of failure. Blakely failed the LSAT not once but twice, abandoning her dream of becoming a lawyer. Afterwards, she spent 7 years selling fax machines door to door, enduring constant rejection. Inspired by her father's encouragement to fail, she developed a mindset that defined failure as not trying. So she didn't look at it as failure as just an end result of not succeeding with whatever you're trying to do, but she viewed failure as just not trying. And that helped her just keep working. That reframe helped her just get out there and face constant rejection and be okay with it. With just $5,000 in her savings, she invented and marketed her own product, which became a global sensation with the help of an endorsement from Oprah Winfrey. So you get somebody going through failure, they have to change career paths, they don't know what they're doing, they're going door to door and facing rejection every single day, multiple times for years. And eventually she goes forward with her idea, puts it out there, and has created, a billionaire empire that she sits upon. Steve Jobs is another great example. He was fired from Apple at one point. I bet a lot of you guys don't know that. Though celebrated as a visionary, the co-founder of Apple was forced out of the company in 1985 after a power struggle with the board. His ousting was devastating for Jobs, but he used it as an opportunity to start new ventures. He did that by founding two new companies, Next and Pixar, and these proved to be invaluable ventures. His success with Pixar and the technological innovations of Next led Apple to acquire his company in 1997, bringing Jobs back as the CEO to revitalize the struggling brand. So he went through the struggle, he got fired, and he didn't just accept it and say, this sucks, my life's not going anywhere now, I lost the best thing I ever had. But instead he got back to work and he said, you know what, I'm going to build something myself. And he built something so amazing that they couldn't deny it, and they actually acquired it and brought him back and said, you're right, we need you. So even when we're going through setbacks and failures, when people are rejecting us, keep in mind that you know what you have. You can offer things that they don't see. These dreams, these goals are given to you, and they're given to you for a reason. If other people can't see them, that's okay. They're not their dreams, they're not their goals, they're yours. So live by them, push towards them. And if everyone else can't see the path, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you see the path. And you just take one step at a time and keep on building, no matter what goes wrong. You can build it back and find something amazing and grow into something even better if you don't let these setbacks and failures take you down and lead to collapse. Let's talk a little bit about why humans are wired to avoid failure, because this is part of our biology. Humans are wired to avoid failure largely due to evolutionary instincts rooted in the need for social acceptance for survival. In modern society, these ancient fears of rejection are amplified by social stigma and cultural pressures to succeed. The evolutionary roots are belong or die. It's kind of that tribalism aspect. For early humans, being accepted into a social group or tribe was not a choice but a necessity for survival. If you're not in the tribe, you're probably going to die. It is incredibly hard to try and survive in the wilderness on your own with no support and no help. It's incredibly hard to live life in general with no support or no help. We have to give ourselves what we need. We got to help ourselves build ourselves up to get people in our corner to do what we need to do. A group also provided protection from predators and rival tribes, which an individual could not fight alone. So you would be kind of captured, attacked, whatever it might be, and things would get pretty bad pretty quickly if you're trying to do things all on your own. The social inclusion also meant shared access to food, shelter, and care for offspring. Being an outcast was essentially a death sentence. So getting all of these things and being involved with the community, with the tribe, is a very hardwired part of us. And that hardwired anxiety kind of motivates our ancestors to stay in the group. And our brains developed an early warning system that causes the emotional pain of social rejection to warn us to stay away from situations that might cause that to happen. That's why so many of us have a fear of judgment or rejection, because that's an ancient part of us worried of being kicked out of the tribe, worried about not being accepted, like we're doing something wrong. This neural pain response is so profound that it activates the same brain regions as actual physical pain. That goes back to that mind-body connection that we have and how powerful it can be. That fear of rejection in modern life is very common. In the modern world, the stakes of rejection are far less dire, but our primitive brain still treats it like a threat to survival. So while we can logically look at it and understand it's not the same situation as it was in the past, you could get in an apartment on your own, you could just go to the grocery store and never really see anybody, and it wouldn't be super terrible. It wouldn't be a death sentence. It wouldn't feel great. That isolation is going to lead to problems of its own, but it wouldn't be what it was in the past. This is more apparent in our intense fear of failure, where the consequences feel immense even when they are not, such as failing a presentation. We also associate worth with achievement. Psychology research shows that the fear of failure is directly linked to a person's sense of self-worth. Many people learn to associate their value with their accomplishments, leading them to a fear of failure as a threat to their identity. A lot of people tie their identity to what they can do instead of who they are. So they tie it to things like grades or like success on the field or success in business. And once things start going wrong, it can create a big identity crisis and start feeling a lot of fear and anxiety. Social judgment and shame is also a big part too. Beyond personal self-worth, the fear of judgment from others is a powerful motivator to avoid failure. The shame and ridicule that can come with not meeting societal or peer expectations taps into the evolutionary anxiety of being an outcast. So we try and avoid it best we can. Critical upbringing. A critical or unsupportive childhood environment can exacerbate the fear of failure in adulthood. People who grew up feeling they couldn't live up to their family's expectations often continue to fear making mistakes later in life. You can have trauma responses from childhood that get in the way with success and reaching for these goals and just facing failure in general. There's also socio-cultural factors and media that impact us. Modern society has introduced new pressures that amplify the fear of rejection and failure. The constant curated reality of social media is one of the big ones. With social media, the successes of others are broadcast constantly, creating an understated, powerful feeling of envy and comparison. This highlight reel culture can make one's own failures feel even more public and embarrassing, and we start comparing ourselves to everyone else and feel like they're all having much more success than we are, and why is it working out and their life looks awesome but mine doesn't. And we got to keep in mind that comparison is the thief of joy, but also there's a lot of fake stuff out there on social media that we accept as real when it may not be. The immortality of mistakes. In the digital era, mistakes can be recorded and broadcast indefinitely, magnifying the fear of ridicule. This can feel like a symbolic death or exile in the digital realm, and this is one of the issues that happens with like cyberbullying and when people struggle with things on the internet, because things can live on forever. This is one of the fears with the whole idea of cancel culture in general, is it gives people no way to move forward and to work on things and to deal with setbacks or failures or things that they've done wrong and grow from them, because they're kind of held to it almost forever. We also have a societal narrative of success. We are conditioned from a young age to strive for perfection and to view failure as a major shortcoming. This cultural mindset can make the journey towards a goal feel less like an adventure and more like a terrifying high-stakes slog. It's going to be a whole lot harder to get to where we want to get to. There's also research on all this. Studies on resilience and post-traumatic growth have been very powerful. Research indicates a complex but positive relationship between resilience and post-traumatic growth, which I'll talk about as PTG, where resilience can foster PTG and PTG can in turn promote further resilience. though some studies show resilience is a stronger predictor of PTG than vice versa. Factors like finding meaning in life, employing positive coping strategies, and social support can mediate or facilitate this connection, while distinct resilience and post traumatic growth are both associated with better psychological adjustment after trauma and highlight the importance of a positive outlook, cognitive reappraisal, and supportive environments in the post traumatic recovery process. There are some key findings in these studies. There is a positive correlation. Studies consistently show a positive correlation between psychological resilience and PTG, meaning higher levels of resilience are often linked to greater experiences of post traumatic growth. There's also the reciprocal relationship. Research suggests a two-way relationship. Individuals who exhibit resilience may be more likely to experience PTG, and the process of PTG can over time contribute to further development of resilience, so it can build each other up. Going through traumatic things and growing from it can build up our resilience and help us deal with more things. We also have mediating factors. Meaning in life. This is a significant factor, as finding and creating meaning in the face of trauma can bridge the gap between resilience and PTG. It helps us figure out the why behind it. If we have no why behind things, sometimes it causes more pain and struggle, and we just get stuck spiraling in it and almost arguing with it of why did this thing happen, why me, and all of that. Cognitive and coping strategies. Post-traumatic growth is facilitated by cognitive reappraisal and the use of positive coping strategies. So making sure to use these strategies and use these reframes that we've talked about. We've given you guys a lot of tools, and I want you guys to keep using it. If you want to find a place where all our tools are, if you go on our Instagram, we have one of those highlights that's just for tools, and you can go there and click through all the little clips that we have posted of different tools that you can use, and they're all in one place ready for you guys to take advantage of, because I want you guys to have these tools and to use them. Social support and relational factors are also really helpful as well. Strong social connections and support networks, both personally and contextually, are vital for both resilience and PTG. We need people around us. The more people you have around you, the easier it is to deal with these things and to find that success you're looking for. There's also divergence in outcomes. Despite their connection, PTG and resilience are considered distinct constructs. Fostering different positive outcomes after trauma, PTG is often seen as a positive adaptation, not a goal following traumatic events. Specific examples would be healthcare workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. Studies on healthcare workers have shown a resilience to be a key predictor of PTG, often associated with hardiness, persistence, and optimism. With students, research with college students indicate that PTG is linked to increased emotion recognition and can promote resilience through positive coping and reappraisal strategies. For firefighters exposed to traumatic events, resilience was found to be associated with PTG, a connection mediated by how they appraise stress as a challenge rather than a threat. It's again something we have talked about many times. If we look at situations as challenges versus threats, they build us up rather than break us down. If we look at it as a threat, it's going to break you down and cause more problems. The difference between failure as an identity and failure as an event. Failure as an event is temporary. It's an isolated occurrence, like a failed exam or a business setback that can be learned from and doesn't define your worth or who you are. Failure as an identity, however, is a deeply ingrained self-perception that labels you as inherently a failure. Often due to a loss of self-worth or the fear of imperfection, it can become a part of your entire worldview. The core difference is that the former is something that happens to you, while the latter is a core part of who you believe you are. So one is more focused on behavior or situation, like I've gone through this thing or this failure happened, while the other one is just feeling like this is just who you are and this is just what it's going to be. There are some common setbacks that people face. In career, those would be like job loss, or a missed promotion, or a business idea flops. These things happen all of the time, and we don't want to look at that and let that lead to us spiraling or giving up or even quitting. We just want to readjust, tweak what we're doing, and keep going. It can also happen in our personal life, like in relationships ending or financial mistakes. I know the financial stuff is big, especially where the economy is right now. There's a lot of people struggling with finances. And I also know that's a very heavy emotional topic that a lot of people try and just bury their head in the sand and pretend it's not there. But we just got to face these things and deal with them, create a plan, figure out what we need to do. If we avoid it, if we ignore it, we're not going to grow from it. We're not going to learn from it. So we got to look at these mistakes. We got to embrace them so we can move through them and overcome them, not get stuck on them. In performance, this happens with athletes. It happens with entrepreneurs. It happens with leaders facing slumps. And this is why I'm doing this episode, because it's a very key part of peak performance. Because if you're reaching for these really high levels, you're going to face failure and setbacks at some points, and we're going to have to deal with it. So we want to normalize it. Everyone fails, but not everyone grows. So the failure isn't a bad thing. The setback isn't a bad thing. The bad thing is when we choose not to grow from it, when we give up on things and quit. So let's keep working. Let's keep working towards what we want to do. And let's push ourselves to accomplish these things and go be the best we can be. There's an emotional impact of failure that typically shows up too. It typically comes up as shame, guilt, and negative self-talk. Failure often triggers negative emotions like shame, where one feels like their core self is flawed or unfixable, and guilt, a feeling about a specific wrong behavior that can be corrected. This can both lead to negative self-talk, a cycle of critical thoughts that lower self-efficacy, promotes withdrawal and isolation, and is linked to depression, anxiety, substance misuse, and social isolation. So let's be aware of how these failures can impact us, because if we're not careful, it's very easy to fall in that trap of just beating yourself up, feeling like you can't handle things, and then hiding from everyone and sitting with a bunch of really intense emotions. So let's understand the emotions. With shame, this is a deeper emotion that affects the entire sense of self, leading to feelings of worthlessness and a belief that one is fundamentally bad or broken. It often stems from feeling exposed for perceived flaw or violation of social norms. Guilt, in contrast, guilt is more about specific actions or behaviors that are inconsistent with one's values. It can be more adaptive, motivating individuals to correct their mistakes and to make amends, as it implies to a possibility for future change and self-integration. The cycle of negative self-talk. The cognitive impact of failing to meet a goal can trigger negative self-evaluations, which can lower self-efficacy and make it harder to learn from the experience. We also have emotional consequences. This negative self-view can lead to feelings of inadequacy, depression, and a desire to withdraw from social situations. We can also have behavioral manifestations that occur. To defend against these painful feelings, some individuals may engage in self-destructive behaviors, like expressing anger or deflecting blame, or further complicating relationships. We also have some associated risks with all of this, such as mental health. Persistent negative self-referential emotions like shame are significant risk factors for depressive disorders and other psychological difficulties. So if we're not careful and we get stuck in these things too long, they can start creating more and more problems for us. That social withdrawal is a big issue too. Shame can push people to avoid social interaction, leading to isolation and loneliness, which typically leads to things feeling worse. Maladaptive responses. The overwhelming nature of these emotions can lead to substance misuse as a coping mechanism, or to self-destructive behaviors that lead to things getting worse and causing more problems for ourselves. Why toxic positivity doesn't help. Toxic positivity doesn't help with setbacks and failures because it invalidates genuine emotions, promotes shame, and it prevents personal growth. So it kind of gets away altogether from everything we're trying to do when we go through a setback or a failure. By denying difficult feelings instead of processing them, it can lead to worse mental health outcomes and hinder our ability to build resilience. It also invalidates authentic emotions. We have to feel these things, we have to embrace them. We can't shame them, we can't suppress them. They don't go where we need them to go if we're trying to hold them back and suppress them. When we or others respond to a setback with a relentlessly positive attitude, it often comes across as a dismissal of real feelings. This can prevent necessary emotional processing and make you feel like your pain is not legitimate. You kind of invalidate yourself. It also discourages honesty. Instead of acknowledging how you truly feel, you may feel pressure to say you are fine or that you're handling it, which stifles honest self-expression. This can lead to creating a false narrative. By insisting on a cheerful facade, toxic positivity creates a disconnect between what you are feeling and what you are projecting to the world. We're kind of disconnecting from ourselves. And this also prevents empathy. When someone uses positive platitudes with you, it can make you feel unheard and misunderstood, harming your relationship, so it's not even helpful to do it with other people. And it also promotes shame and guilt. Because it values a happy state above all else, toxic positivity can make people feel like a failure for experiencing negative emotions. This shame is counterproductive and harmful to self esteem. It can also blame the individual. Phrases like happiness is a choice can lead to a sense of guilt, implying that you're somehow responsible for your own suffering because you haven't chosen to be happy. And there's more to it than just choice. It normalizes comparison too. Social media often fuels this issue by creating the illusion that everyone else is living a perfectly positive life, which makes you feel defective for experiencing normal human feelings like sadness or anger. It can also mask deeper problems. The feeling of shame forces people to hide their pain, preventing them from seeking genuine support or professional help when they need it most. So we actively walk away from issues and don't get what we need because we're worried that getting those things might mean something bad. It suppresses those negative emotions, and suppressing or ignoring emotions like sadness, disappointment, or frustration requires significant mental effort. It takes a lot of time and energy. The emotional energy spent maintaining a false positive front is draining and can be damaging over the long term. It can lead to a rebound effect. Research has shown that trying to suppress negative emotions can cause them to return more intensely later on. If you try and hold them down, they're going to come back up at some point. So we got to just deal with them. It also increases stress. Studies have found that bottling up emotions can increase physiological stress responses, such as a higher heart rate. And it can stunt personal growth. Avoiding difficult emotions prevents you from facing underlying issues. Growth and resilience come from processing and learning from difficult experiences, not from ignoring them. The healthy alternative is self compassion. Instead of relying on toxic positivity, a more effective approach is to practice self compassion. This involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend facing a similar struggle. Let's be a friend to ourselves. Let's give ourselves some compassion, some understanding, and sit with ourselves and give ourselves that space to go through it. Let's not just beat ourselves up and feel bad about it. You want to acknowledge those feelings. Recognize that your disappointment or sadness is valid and a natural part of the human experience, and really it's just showing us that we care about this thing, whatever it was. We also want to practice self kindness. When you fail or face a setback, avoid harsh self criticism. Don't beat yourself up. Offer yourself support instead of judgment. Build yourself up, hype yourself up, get yourself back out there. Don't let it break you down. And connect with common humanity. Remember that everyone experiences setbacks and failures. You are not alone in your struggle, and this realization can reduce feelings of isolation and shame. One of the best things we can hear when we're in times of struggle is the phrase, me too. When we feel that other people have been or are where we are, it feels a whole lot less lonely and it feels like there's not something wrong with us and these things just happen. So normalizing and accepting these things can lead to reducing the pain of this as well. Let's talk a little bit about healthy emotional processing versus suppression. After a setback or a failure, healthy emotional processing builds resilience and deepens self-awareness. While suppression creates anxiety, stress, and impaired decision making, processing means acknowledging difficult emotions, understanding their purpose, and responding constructively. Suppression is a conscious choice to avoid or deny feelings, which eventually backfires. So we want to process it, we don't want to suppress it. Emotional processing is a path to resilience. Healthy emotional processing involves active engagement with feelings, allowing one to learn from difficult experiences. It's not easy, it's not fun, but it leads to good things. We want to acknowledge and label the emotions. Recognizing and naming what is felt, like disappointment, anger, or shame, is the initial step toward effective management. Research shows that labeling an emotion can reduce its intensity. We want to name it to tame it. Learn from the experience. Instead of dwelling on the setback, a processing mindset focuses on learning. This approach identifies mistakes and develops a plan for the future, turning failure into a teaching moment. Let's grow. Let's not break down. Practice that self-compassion like we talked about. Let's build ourselves up. It's going to help us with resilience, and it's going to help us with flexibility when things do go wrong. And building up confidence helps us navigate difficult emotions because that confidence helps us handle future challenges and reinforces that growth mindset and the belief in our capacity to adapt and handle these difficult situations. We want to improve relationships. Processing emotions constructively allows for honest communication. One can better articulate needs and frustrations without becoming hostile and strengthening social bonds that can support us during these struggling times. So we want to try and reframe these failures. We want to shift that perspective and kind of really focus on that idea of what is this teaching me? If we're able to get there, things are going to probably work out a whole lot better for ourselves. There is some research going into growth mindset in general done by Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck's growth mindset research emphasizes the belief that intelligence and abilities are not fixed but can be developed through effort, strategies, and learning from challenges. In contrast, a fixed mindset views abilities as static, leading to individuals to avoid challenges and setbacks to avoid failure and protect their self worth, feeling as though we can't grow, we can't change. Dweck's work shows that growth mindset fosters resilience, better learning, and greater achievement. It encourages individuals to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. So we want that growth mindset versus that fixed mindset. The growth mindset is the perspective that holds that fundamental qualities, intelligence, and talents are not static but can be developed and nurtured through persistent effort, practice, and learning. While the fixed mindset is a view that believes that one's abilities and intelligence are inherent traits that cannot be significantly changed or improved. We kind of just have what we have, and that's it. There are key aspects of growth mindset. We want to embrace challenges. We want to be persistent with whatever we're doing. Consistency is key. We got to learn from failure when it shows up. We have to seek feedback to figure out how to grow and what we can take from these experiences. Sometimes getting to talk with other people like mentors or people you trust can help build us up. We do have some practical tools to handle setbacks as well. A lot of reflection exercises like we've talked about, like journaling prompts, reframing techniques, the failure autopsy, all of that kind of stuff can really help us handle these things and build us up. There are therapy and coaching tools that can be really helpful. CBT is really great for reframing. DBT, the distress tolerance module, is really helpful with dealing with these things. And EMDR is really helpful with just getting that impact on right there in the moment. I'm actually doing that with a high school football team where I'm right on the field with them and I'm ready to do some EMDR techniques and use some tools to help them regulate and work on those setbacks as they're happening right there in the game. The action steps we want to take is to learn, adapt, and retry with adjustments. We want to keep growing from these things. And we got to keep in mind that attitude of just the entrepreneurial mindset of fail fast and fail forward. There's a great video out there by Denzel Washington at the University of Pennsylvania giving a speech about fail forward. You could just type in fail forward and you'll probably find it. But it's a great speech just about that idea of we want to keep moving forward and keep pushing ourselves because that's when we grow and that's when we reach these goals that we have for ourselves. We want to build resilience over time. The role of consistency and routine is huge, so make sure you get into a habit and you just keep working and keep sticking to these things, even if it's not working out how you want it to. If you keep going, chances are things are going to start working. We might need to consider using different strategies, using different techniques, whatever it might be, but we want to keep working with whatever we're doing. We want to use emotional regulation strategies like breathing or grounding or EMDR for deeper setbacks. We want to take advantage of social support and mentorship. So take advantage and build that resilience. Don't be afraid of failures or setbacks. Go towards them, embrace them, and see what happens. And I want to challenge you guys to share one failure and what you learned from it. So you can send that to me through a DM on any of the social media sites. You can reach out in all these different ways that I've talked about. You could just leave a comment on the video. You could leave a review with it. Whatever you want to do, but I want you guys to share one recent failure and what you learned from it, because you expressing that to me keeps me involved, helps me help you out, but it also helps you reflect on these things and practice being vulnerable with somebody that's hopefully a trusted place, because I don't think I'm going to cause any issues for you guys. Maybe you don't like talking to me, that's okay, but I think it might be beneficial to share that a little bit and get talking about these things. So let me know one failure you have gone into, you have dealt with, and what you learned about it. And tying this back to premier performance, setbacks are fuel for premier performance. These things help us grow. They help us do the things we want to do. So don't be afraid of them. Let's own them. Let's embrace them. And let's go towards that success we're all looking for. Resilient minds, premier results. Do the work. Do the things you need to do. And you're going to reach these goals you have for yourself. You're going to reach these high levels of success. But it's going to take time. It's going to be hard. And you're going to have to be willing to overcome these obstacles. Recognition is the first step. If we don't know something's happening, it's really hard to do anything about it. So try and recognize what's going on, what's happening, and we'll deal with these things best we can. And if you're not even sure what to do about it, reach out and let me know, and we'll figure out what to do, and I might even point you in a direction of what to do about it from there. If you found this episode beneficial in any way, make sure to leave a review. That would be awesome. And if you have somebody in your life that you think could benefit from learning about these things or hearing more about handling setbacks and failures, make sure to send it their way. We want to share this stuff best we can to get it out to as many people as we can, because the whole goal of this is just to increase awareness and give you guys tools to use so you guys can better live your life and have some fun along the way. So if you have anybody you think would benefit, make sure to get it to them and we'll help them out. I make it a point to give you guys actionable tools to find success in your life, so I want to know how these things are going. I love staying connected with you guys. So let me know if things are working, if they're not, if you're having struggles, if you're finding success, if you're falling into disappointment or failures. Anything that's happening, I want to know about it. I want to be involved. I want to be a resource for you guys. So let me know, and there's a lot of ways you can contact me. You can email me at tmailer@premierperformancereno.com. My last name spelled Mahler. You can text or call me directly at 775-561-0056. We have our Instagram and TikTok with the same name, Premier_Performance_Reno for both of those. Feel free to follow along to get content as it comes out, and you can interact with us in that community as well. We also have our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page with the same name, Premier Performance LLC for both of those. So get involved on there too. And then our Twitter or X account, which is Premier Reno LLC. And finally, our website, www.premierperformancereno.com. Check us out, see if there's anything that we can help with. We like to put a lot of things out on that site. There's a lot of things that we offer there that you could check out and explore and see if it might fit for what you're looking for. But just let us know whatever's going on, what you might need. We want to help however we can. We just want to make life easier. Next week, we're going to keep going with all this stuff. We have new episodes coming out every Sunday. And next week, we're going to talk about working with fear, how to do that, what that looks like, and how to navigate that when fear is in our life. I think that's going to be a big one, and it kind of naturally fits with a lot of what we're talking about today, which is why we're going to do it next. And we're going to keep on jumping on these things. And let me know if there's certain topics you want to hear more of. I'm totally fine adding in new topics and ideas to these upcoming episodes that we're doing. Go be the best you can be. Live your life. Be the fullest version of you can. Don't be afraid of being vulnerable and taking risks and putting yourself out there. Don't be afraid of the setbacks and the failures. Embrace them. Be the best you can. Have some fun along the way. If you need anything at all, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week and we'll keep on building. Have a good one. See you guys soon. Bye.